in Ontario, where they're building, believe it or not, 61-story high wind turbines. And it's all part of the Ontario government's green climate plan, or green energy plan, they call it. They want to lead the world in stopping climate change, okay? And so as a consequence, they're building these 610-story high turbines. And of course, it's causing electricity rates to skyrocket. People in the United States should really watch what's happened in Ontario if you want a warning of what not to do. In 2003, we got 25% of our electricity, excuse me, we got 25% of our electricity from coal. We had low rates, we were a leader, we were a powerhouse in Canada, we provided money to the central pot that's then shared across the country. We were a have province, okay? Now we get 0% of our energy from coal because we are going to stop climate change. Oh yeah. And now we now have a debt per capita 5 times that of California, okay? We are now a have-not province. We receive money from Alberta and Saskatchewan. We don't contribute to the Canadian overall economic well-being. And of course, this causes massive increases in electricity prices, and the big impact is on the poor. Again, a cause that Liberals should care about. And in fact, these wind turbines have even attracted the attention of a group called Save the Eagles International out of Spain. And they're very smart. They know how to create headlines, okay? And here's the headline they have in their news release that came out on May 23rd. Okay, now that's going to grab most progressive, most people are going to look at that and say, what? That's an endangered species. You're going to slaughter them in Ontario? Well, that's exactly what they're going to do because they're building them all along the north of the lake, okay, which is a migrating area for these eagles. And so that's actually a cause that we have to really focus on. And if you look at it closely, what you're going to see is we will become the graveyard of millions of birds and bats because we're trying to stop climate change. Okay, so start an article with that. You get the attention of the editor. They read your piece. Use that in your subject line. Okay, that's the way to get attention. Now, as we were driving along the highway just north of a wind farm near Chateauguay, New York State, I took some pictures. And I have these here because it's really hard to believe how close these are to homes. These are 37-story high wind turbines. Okay? They're a little more than half as big as what we're putting up in Ontario. But we're going to see in a second the impact on the community is amazing. I mean, look at this. They look like they're right next door. And in fact, I'm just going to give you a little slide here, which is sort of fun. These are my daughters. One of them is she's an environmentalist. She says, stop wind turbines. They're killing all the birds, you know, which is what we want. Okay, we want the environmentalists and the progressive editors to say these are bird blenders. So they said, well, they don't look very far away. Of course, they didn't know they were 37 stories high. So we're going to run to the base of the turbine. Well, here they are, 5 minutes after starting the run. They got halfway there and they gave up. And these turbines are small by comparison with what's going up in Ontario. Put to scale, this is what's going up in Ontario. Now, this is of particular concern for a lady by the name of Shelley Correa. Okay? Shelley Correa, here you can see her pictured with her son. They have really serious concern because they moved to Lincoln County because her son had very serious problems here. And I'll just get the exact title so that I know exactly what the problem was. Okay, he has a disease called sensory processing disorder. And it's critical that he live in environments that are free from excessive noise. So they moved to this beautiful area, West Lincoln, Ontario, okay? I mean, it's like Mayberry. You couldn't pick a quieter place. But because of the fight to stop climate change, the Ontario government has announced that they're going to put up 61-story wind turbines, the biggest in North America, one of which is going to be 550 meters from her house. Okay? Now let's look at what she said. She's fought this really hard. She's got enormous courage, Ms. Correa, and Joey's helping her out too, which is great. But she said this to the Environmental Review Tribunal. On top of the incessant cyclical noise, there is light flicker and infrasound. This is not something that my son will be able to tolerate. And let's take a look at what her science advisor said, because she has someone working with her who's a very good person in understanding the statistics of damage to children. Carmen Croft says, vigilance and long-term surveillance systems regarding risks and adverse effects related to children are lacking. This evaluation should take place before proceeding with additional approvals. Oh, but we've got to stop climate change. So as Shelley said to the tribunal, the common theme being that no one can help us because of the Green Energy Act. Okay? So really bad things are happening in Ontario and all over the world in the effort to mitigate climate change. Okay, they are saying, in every one of these cases, they are saying the lives of people today, and that's Joey in the forefront holding his sign, the lives and health and welfare of people today is less important than the possible discomfort of people in 50 years. Okay, now even left-wingers have a little bit of a trouble with that. Okay? Now, traditionally, skepticism is usually seen as something that is practiced on the left of the political spectrum. People who disdain absolute statements from powerful authorities. So we need to give them a reason to want the climate scare to be wrong. We want them to not tell us the truth. We want them to be skeptics, which of course is what left wing was all about. When Einstein announced his theory of relativity, it was the German left that supported him. It was the conservatives who didn't like it because it threatened their worldview. We want to encourage the left to do what they would do naturally, be skeptics. So what we want to do is we want to reference near the beginning of our articles and our letters to the editor some cause, some issue that is really damaged as a result of the focus on climate mitigation. And I'll tell you, I was doing this subconsciously. When I was writing this speech, I thought, oh, let's look through my list of media hits and see, is there a correlation? I mean, I'm saying there is. Well, there sure was. And I won't name the newspapers because, of course, our opponents would send to their editors right away, Harris is using this trick to get you published. It's not a trick. It's basic psychology. It's telling them things that they are concerned about so they have an incentive to open your email, to read through it. And then by the end, they get to the point where they say, gee, I really wish that we didn't have to have wind turbines. I really wish we didn't have to have biofuels because look at these things that I value more that are suffering as a consequence. So that's my speech. Thank you very much.